and for Central Bank in 2016. And now we all are going to look beyond 2016 and increase the budget when it comes to beyond 4,000 and so on. Now, how are you going to plan this?
Excellent question. Thank you very much for that. I think, as you all know, the timing or the vision that His Excellency articulated way back in 2005 and also once again renewed in 2009 was towards 2016 and 2017. Now we are coming close to the 2016 and 2017 mark, and it's necessary for us to now take a longer term view from now onwards. So in 2014, I think it's time for us to reflect on 2020, 25 and even perhaps 30. Because earlier we could not really have a long term view of our economy and our country. If you go through my presentation and look at the yield curves of the treasury bonds, in 2005 we had only yield curves up to 3 years. No one could take a call on interest rates beyond 3 years. In 2007 or 2008, it had risen to 4 years. But today we have yield curves going up to 30 years. You can see there's a big change in the way the people are reflecting. So now it's a proper time for us to look at 2020, 25, 30 and even beyond. But I think initially if we have our sights on 2020, 25 and 30, those will be realistic time frames for us to prepare our new plans. And I think today the President gave that indication that we should be looking at the new horizons, and we will certainly be doing that.
By 2020, what is your per capita target?
I'm afraid I won't be able to tell you right away, but we will work on that and give you some information on that. But certainly we will be moving in a different lane because we can see that taking place. We can see the country on a much more higher growth trajectory. We can see the country moving on a much more stable territory. So therefore our estimates would probably be a lot more focused on the future than what we were in the past.
Governor, are you anticipating any further interest rate reduction?
I think if you listen to my speech carefully today, we did give a clue that we are not only looking at the inflation as it is today, but we are also looking at the country adjusting to this new framework within which we are hoping to work over the next few years. So that adjustment also needs to come into the country. That's not to say that there cannot be any rate cuts at all, but certainly to say that we are looking at the economy as a total whole. And in that sense, we want to see all these components coming in right in order to ensure that we do not have any mismatch in the way that we are moving forward.
So how do you see this year 2014? Do you expect further reduction of
We see it exactly the way that I explained to you.
Governor, in terms of the drought that we are having now, it might affect agriculture and due to that
That's a little worrisome. You're quite right. The drought is worrying us to some extent because we believe that in the agricultural side we have to make sure that there is no spike in prices unnecessarily. So that's something that we'll be watching out carefully. And at the same time, the drought can also have an impact as far as our generation of electricity is concerned. But here we are a little more comfortable now because the Norachole has had another 300 megawatts of electricity being generated out of coal. So Norachole is now generating 600 megawatts of electricity. So as a result, the stress that the drought would put on the generation of electricity is much less now.
Governor, again, about the interest rate, in your presentation you were talking about interest depending on the interest rate, but what measures are you going to take to prevent them?
Excellent question. We have already had several discussions with the banks as well as many of the bigger insurance companies because we have been impressing upon them that there is now a very important need for them to have long-term annuity type of products, which will ensure that the benefits that people will have for their long-term deposits would be fairly substantial, unlike the interest rate only that was being thought through in the past. So that's a transition period that we are looking at now, and we are encouraging all these big banks as well as the big insurance companies to come up with some interesting products which will give the support to the people who are living off savings, so that their incomes will not come down too drastically.
So how that is possible with the equity market? Stock market is also not performing well.
I think the stock market has been performing reasonably well. If you look at the worldwide stock markets, all these are relative. So maybe stock market is not performing to the spectacular levels that performed immediately after the end of the conflict, because there was some in-depth demand that was actually fulfilling. But in the global context, I think it's performing reasonably well. And these annuities and other products of that nature do not only depend on the stock market, they also look at long-term products, 30-year bonds and so on. So we have now created that atmosphere also for that kind of a situation. So I think there will be several banks as well as insurance companies who would be looking at it quite positively and moving towards those areas.
So what is it fair to believe that the interest rates will reduce further this year?
No, I think you shouldn't really think of it on those lines. You are, I think, constantly looking at interest rates reduction. And for me to say, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to tell you that the conditions that are prevalent today and the interest rates that we have maintained are the appropriate ones. So I think we should really recognize it on those lines.
So interest rate will be stable.
So what do you want me to do now? Okay,
Yes,
let's take another question.
right now, the banks pay additional 1% to the Indian citizens. Now, if you are considering further reduction of interest rates, don't you think it is advisable to increase this 1% to get this disparity? I mean, they will definitely down now. There is another further reduction of interest. They will affect negatively affect. There is no doubt about it. So, is it possible to ask banks to increase this 1% to 2 or 2?
The interest rates are a function of the macro fundamentals of a country. And if you look at the way our interest rates have behaved, it has always been in line with inflation. And if you want to control inflation, interest rates have been higher. If interest rates are at benign levels, interest rates have been lower, and that has been the practice that we follow. And that is the practice that worldwide central banks follow. So we are, I think, on the normal trajectory as far as that is concerned. The support that was given to senior citizens by having additional 1% being locked in as an additional benefit was really something beyond the normal norms of monetary policy. It was not something that the normal norms would have provided for, but it was a special incentive that was provided in order to ensure that the adjustment is not so stressful in the period of an adjustment. So right now we believe that support is necessary, and that is why it has been locked in. But over a period of time, it cannot be mentioned that every monetary board will be asked to follow that. So there can be a situation where once all these new products have kicked in, and that support is being granted to the senior citizens, then it might adjust. It might be sometimes possible to remove it because there is sufficient support being granted. But till such time that the support is granted, we feel it is advisable to maintain that. අපි මේ තර්කය පිළිගන්නවා. පිටින් හැටියට ඒ පරතරය වැඩි තමයි. ඒකට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ පරතරය අඩු කර ගැනීමට යම්කිසි කාලයක් ගත වෙනවා. මොකද බැංකුණත් ඒ ආකාරයට ඒ අය එතනට මේ යොමු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ ඒ ආයතන තිබෙන ඒ පද්ධතියේ තිබිච්ච මුදල් ලබා ගැනීම සහ මුදල් ණයට දීම හරහා තමයි ඒ ස්පේස් එක ඇති වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ටික කාලයක් යනකොට තමයි ඒක ඒ අපි හිතන මට්ටමට එන්නේ. සමහරක් මූල්‍ය පද්ධති වල ඒ පදනම ඉක්මනින් එනවා. සමහර මූල්‍ය පද්ධති වල එච්චරක් ඉක්මනින් එන්නේ නැහැ. අපි හිතන විදිහට අපේ ඒක සාමාන්‍ය විදිහට තමයි මේ හැසිරෙන්නේ. තව ටික කාලෙකින් තවදුරටත් ඒක අඩු වෙයි කියලා තමයි අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. අපේ බැංකු සහ මූල්‍ය අංශයේ තිබෙන ඒකාබද්ධ කිරීම හරහා තවදුරටත් ඒක අඩු කර ගැනීමට අවකාශයක් ඇති වෙයි කියලා අපි හිතන්නේ ඉදිරියේ. මේ පරතරය.
You have mentioned of private equity.
What's the update on the lending? Private sector credit. There have been some concerns in the last quarter, but what is the trend for this year so far?
We have seen a reduction this year also, but as the Director Economic Research mentioned in her address today, it is a combination of several factors that go into the money supply that is taking place. It's not only the credit growth. So there have been other areas which have grown much faster, and she mentioned a few of those today in her address, which has compensated very well the reduction in the private sector credit growth. So overall, the total money supply has improved or increased to the levels that we think are the right levels in order to provide the growth of what we are seeking. But maybe as a component in the first half of this year, it may be lower, but we expect it to pick up towards the second part of the year, and it should probably be another important segment in the total money supply that we will be looking at for the total year as we take 2014.
Someone that mentioned of private equity in your issues and policy section. The central bank getting interested in doing something in this regard.
Let's put it this way, the central bank is very keen that private equity funds come and operate in Sri Lanka. We may not get involved directly, but it's a kind of initiative that we would like to see taking place in our country, because that is the next stage of taking the well-managed but company that need more capital as well as even better management techniques in order to face the rest of the world in competition. So that we'll probably see in the next few months and years, where there can be a new infusion of capital coming into the country as a result of private equity funds being quite active. Yes, brands. ඒක මම හිතන්නේ භෞතික අංශයට තමයි මේ වගකීම බාර දිය යුත්තේ. භෞතික අංශයට ඉස්සරින් තිබිච්ච ලොකුම ප්‍රශ්න තමයි අපේ රටේ බ්‍රෑන්ඩ් එකක් අපිට ගිහිල්ලා මාකට් කරන්න අමාරුයි. මොකද රටේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න නිසා, යටින් තියෙන යුද්ධ නිසා, ඒ වගේ තමයි තිබිච්ච මානසිකත්වය. අද මේ මානසිකත්වයෙන් අපිට බැහැර වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා අද භෞතික අංශයට පුළුවන් අලුත් බ්‍රෑන්ඩ්ස් ගෙනියලා ඒ බ්‍රෑන්ඩ්ස් ලෝකයට හඳුන්වලා දීලා ඒ හරහා අපේ රටයි ඒ අයගේ මේ තිබෙන සන්නාම භාජනය වෙලා තිබෙන ඒ භාණ්ඩ හෝ සේවාවන් ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන්න. දැන් අපි බැලුවොත් විශේෂයෙන්ම ඩිල්මා වගේ බ්‍රෑන්ඩ් එකක්. අපි දකිනවා ඩිල්මා ලෝකේ හැමතැනම දැන් අද මේ පාවිච්චි වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒකට සෑහෙන කලක් යනවා. ඒවට අවුරුදු 10ක් 15ක් 20ක් සමහර කරට යනවා. ඒ වගේ බ්‍රෑන්ඩ් එකක් ගොඩනගන්න. ඉතින් දැන් ඉඳලම පටන් අරගෙන අපේ ඉදිරියට එන සමාගම් ඒකට යොමු වුණොත් මම හිතන්නේ තව අවුරුදු 15කින් 20කින් අපි දැන් සමින් මහත්මයා වගේ ප්‍රශ්නේ මොකද්ද අපේ කාල සීමාව ගැන අහුවනේ. ඒ වගේ කාලයක් යනකොට ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ තියෙන පුළුවන් සමහරවිට ගෝලීය බ්‍රෑන්ඩ් 4-5ක්. ඒක හරි වැදගත්. ඉතින් ඒකට දැන් ඉඳන්ම යොමු වෙලා ඒ සමාගම් මෙතනට යොමු වුණොත් මම හිතන්නේ ඒක සෑහෙන ලොකු ප්‍රගතියක් අපේ රටේ ආර්ථිකයට ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද?